Hey Rolls, this is Mademoiselle Mosley again. I hope everybody's doing well. I hope everybody is having a great day. I want to talk to you guys again about femininity, part two. And I have a lot of questions that was asked during the process of me doing the first one, femininity, if you guys have checked it out. And I'm going to use my notes. I'm going to read from my notes as best as I can. I remember a lot of things, but it's some things that I just like to take my time and really get into it more when questions are being asked. So I'm going to read out of here. It's like when we speak of femininity, a lot of us have never had the opportunity to embrace our femininity from the lack of being embraced. A lot of us have never had the opportunity to operate in our femininity from the lack of being embraced. And I'm going to let you know what femininity means. It basically means the qualities and the characteristics and the attributes that defines you as a woman. When you say it's not, that's not all, but under characteristics you have certain characters, under attributes you have certain attributes, and under qualities every woman has certain qualities, but there's certain ones that defines you as a woman in how we carry ourselves as feminine women. And it's like the reason why I really feel like a lot of us have not been able to embrace our femininity, because anytime that we have been embraced as feminine, it's usually out of people trying to take advantage of us. So then we oftentimes think femininity is weakness or vulnerability. And it's not weakness or vulnerability, but it's a manner of how we carry ourselves as women, that we should be able to be vulnerable with people as being feminine, but we know that's not always how it happens. And so another thing is that I'm gonna take it to a whole nother level now. When I spoke about that, it's like the reason why a lot of us cannot operate fullness in our femininity like we would like to, and I'm not saying everyone, but how we would like to be as women, the ones that choose to respect men and people in general, being that we're the weaker vessel. That don't mean we weak. That don't mean we weak, but it just means we're the weaker vessel, because what God meant for us to hold is not the same thing that he gave to the man to hold. That's why we are the weaker vessel. Not just in strength, because there's some women that are physically stronger than men in certain aspects, and we're not going to get into that. That doesn't make you more of a man or less of a woman, or vice versa. We're not going to get to that point. But God, as a vessel, he's giving us women to hold certain things, and he giving a man something to hold as well. And that's why a lot of things right now is just all out of order. Just all out of order due to what I'm about to talk about right now in this part. It says, and I want to say, and I was taken to a whole nother level, is that it's like when the person that's supposed to be embracing you, instead of embracing you, they use their power to embarrass you. And that just throws things totally off. That just makes a woman don't want to operate in her femininity, in the characteristics, in the attributes, or the qualities that she's supposed to have. Because now someone has taken their power that they're supposed to be used to cover us and to embrace us, to embarrass us. So now it's like, no. But femininity is a power too. And when you operate in that power of femininity and somebody is trying to abuse it, and I'm not talking about physically, because you have to protect yourself the best way you can if it comes to that point, which I hope it never will. But in order to be use the power of femininity, you have to understand that if somebody is taking advantage of that, then you need to question their position, because they're causing you to be at a disposition when you're operating in your femininity and it's still being rejected and not embraced. Okay? So what hurts some women from operating in their femininity is when someone uses their power that's supposed to be embracing their femininity to embarrass them within their femininity. Okay? And it's almost like they act like sometimes that we're a beast of burdens, that we got to operate even when we're hurting. We got to get over it. How can you get over it when you're still up under it? When you don't acknowledge femininity? So how are we supposed to operate in it when we can't embrace it because we're not being embraced within it? So I'm going to go a little bit further. Femininity doesn't mean that you're vulnerable. What it means is that you should be able to operate in your vulnerability and not being taken advantage of. Femininity does not mean vulnerability. It just means that you should be able to operate in your vulnerability without being taken advantage of. If that makes sense. Just because I'm operating in my femininity does not mean I'm vulnerable. Like vulnerable to certain things. But it means that I should be able to operate within my vulnerability because of my femininity. I should be covered. See, when you're covered, when you're protected, that means in your aspects of your femininity, you'll be able to bring out more productivity in your femininity because you're being covered and protected. When you're not being covered and protected, within the femininity is some of the characteristics and some of the qualities and attributes that you will not be able to operate in because femininity has to be covered so that it can be exposed. You can't expose your femininity and your vulnerability in an area where you're not being covered. Because if you're not being covered, that means you can be taken advantage of. So, I'm not really, downing the men or anything like that. I'm just trying to wake us up because there's so many arguments back and forth about men and women, what we should and shouldn't do. But the sum that we have this day of women and men and our disagreements and our not coming together and this and that and how women are operating outside of their femininity. It means outside of the attributes and the characteristics and the qualities that God gave us is because they've been thwarted by being taken advantage of by people who supposed to be embracing us that used our qualities to embarrass us, to take advantage of us. And I'm not saying every man out there. It's some women that has done things to women as well to cause them to not be able to operate in their femininity because the woman is not operating in her femininity and respecting the other feminine so that we can build each other. Instead, we go around and we tear each other down because we know our weaknesses as women because we are women. Instead of using them to build, we use them to tear down. And we are the ones that's going to have to do the building blocks over again. And we don't have to go back to old times, but we can go back to the right time. The right time and the right way so that we can get what it is that we're both looking for in both aspects of life, male and female. So I hope that helped you guys. I hope I explained it a little better. I hope I opened it up some more. If you want more, I can dig deeper. I can go further. I can give a greater understanding to it. But I hope that helped you guys. Like I said before, get it before it gets you. Like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, I'm out.